Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tim Booker channel. Wishing you all a delightful audiobook experience. Today, I will interpret When I Say No, I Feel Guilty for you. The Chinese version of this book contains around 270,000 words, and I will spend approximately 20 minutes unpacking its essence. Have you ever faced situations where you struggled with annoyance due to interference imposed by your parents? Feeling helpless when constantly asked to work overtime by your boss? Not knowing how to politely refuse unreasonable requests from friends? If you have encountered these problems, then When I Say No, I Feel Guilty is tailor-made for you. In all aspects of daily life, such as family, work, and friendships, countless passive situations, conflicts, and anxieties arise from others' control and our own vulnerability. This book teaches us that when we feel passive, embarrassed, or lost in various daily interactions, there is only one solution: assertiveness. When I Say No, I Feel Guilty is a classic work by the world-renowned psychologist, Manuel J. Smith. In this book, he combines theories from psychology, linguistics, behavioral studies, and highly effective time-proven techniques to help you become assertive. Assertiveness is a unique ability and skill to deal with others. It involves establishing a set of powerful psychological and verbal patterns, enabling others to genuinely accept and acknowledge your true intentions during interactions. Manuel J. Smith is one of the most authoritative and esteemed psychologists in the United States. As a psychology professor at the University of California, he initiated research on assertiveness, a revolutionary self-help field, starting in the 1960s. His theories and methods have been personally adopted by influential figures like Jobs, Clinton, Hillary, and Oprah, leading to profound changes in their perspectives and lives. Now that we have introduced the book and the author, let's delve into its content. The book mainly focuses on three key aspects. 1. Why we need to be assertive. 2. What are the 10 major principles of assertiveness? 3. What are the 7 techniques to demonstrate assertiveness? Let's now focus on the first key point: why do we need to be assertive? In life, no matter what you do, interacting with others will inevitably bring various challenges. For instance, when your partner is upset about something, they might not even mention it directly but show it through body language, forcefully closing doors, refusing to talk, or constantly changing TV channels. All these actions can make you feel guilty, even if the issue is not explicitly discussed. Whenever there is interaction with others, conflicts are bound to arise. You may want to do something, but your partner, parents, or friends may have different expectations or even try to control you into doing something else. This creates a sense of inner crisis because you want to follow your own desires, but you fear your loved ones might disapprove. You may be afraid of hurting your parents or damaging your friendship, which leads to allowing others to control you and feeling anxious and guilty while trying to act according to your own wishes. This struggle can lead to frustration, anger, or anxiety, ultimately resulting in us conforming to others' expectations and losing our sense of self-esteem. To better understand how others manipulate you, you can categorize your relationships with them into 3 types. 1. Business-like relationships. These involve external rules already embedded in business interactions, such as legal terms or contractual clauses. In this type of relationship, if the other party introduces controlling external rules without mutual consent, it hampers your rights to evaluate your future actions. 2. Authority-based relationships. These are relationships involving authority figures, where both parties are not bound by mutually agreed-upon rules, and you may not be the ultimate judge of your actions. For example, the relationship between an employee and a boss. If the boss asks you to work overtime tonight, what would you do? In most cases, even though the employee may be reluctant, they fear repercussions and choose to work overtime, succumbing to control. 3. Equal relationships. These include friendships, neighbors, colleagues, and spouses. In these relationships, most actions are determined through effective compromise, allowing the relationship to be maintained without needing to negotiate every detail of who does what and when. One common issue arises when you have mixed relationships with the same person. For instance, when you have a business-like relationship with a friend, it becomes challenging to maintain the equal and friendly aspect of your friendship, as the business interactions mix in with it, leading to mutual manipulation. You may find that sometimes you have no choice but to treat the same person in 2 different ways. In such cases, how can you free yourself from others' control? The key realization is that as long as you don't allow it, nobody can control you. Our ancestors left us 3 conflict resolution abilities: fighting, fleeing, and using language to solve problems. Although you have innate survival abilities of fighting and fleeing, solving problems does not necessarily require these methods. In modern society, being assertive in language is the superior approach compared to fighting or fleeing. Assertiveness means having confidence in your abilities and being able to handle anything that comes your way with a "my way or no way" attitude. In mixed relationships, only by asserting your "my way or no way" mindset, making autonomous decisions about what you want, and carefully considering what compromises you are willing to accept, can you effectively handle others' manipulation and maintain both friendship and business aspects with the same person. So, that's the first topic we covered today: why do we need to be assertive? In life, hidden manipulation from others is pervasive, especially when you have multiple types of relationships with someone. To avoid being manipulated, the best approach is to be assertive. Alright, let's move on to the second key point, the 10 major principles of assertiveness. Since manipulation from others is omnipresent, you must be assertive to avoid being controlled. When you realize that you might be subject to others' manipulation, it's crucial to be aware of the everyday assertiveness principles presented in this book. The author puts forth 10 assertiveness principles to help you resist being manipulated by others. The first assertiveness principle is that you have the right to assert your actions, thoughts, and emotions and take responsibility for all the consequences that arise. This seemingly simple statement holds significant importance. Everyone has the capacity to fully control their behavior, thoughts, and emotions. The more accustomed you are to being controlled, the less assertive you become. You may even abandon your right to assert yourself. The second assertiveness principle is to stick to what you want to do without needing to explain yourself. This right stems from your basic autonomy. Only you have the right to be the ultimate judge of your actions and character. When you are your own judge, you can confidently go your own way and do things according to your desires without the need to explain or seek approval from others. The third assertiveness principle is that you have no obligation to help others, and you need not feel guilty about it. Everyone must face various challenges in life and learn to solve their own problems. You don't possess the ability or responsibility to solve all their issues. If you fail to recognize your right to take care of yourself, others might manipulate you by placing their problems on your shoulders, as if they were your responsibility. The fourth assertiveness principle is that you have the right to change your mind. Nobody remains unchanged over time and in different circumstances. However, others may not accept your new choices and may manipulate you with immature beliefs. For example, they might say that once you've said something, you cannot change it anymore, and changing your mind is a mistake. To avoid being controlled, you must firmly believe that changing your mind, even if it is reasonable, is normal. The fifth assertiveness principle is that making mistakes is not frightening, but you must bear the consequences. No one is perfect, and everyone makes mistakes. You don't need to feel guilty about your mistakes or try to make up for them. Others may use your guilt and desire to rectify mistakes to manipulate you for their own purposes. The sixth assertiveness principle is that you have the right to say, "I don't know." You have the autonomy to decide your thoughts without needing to know everything before taking action. You have the right to respond, "I don't know," and not have to answer others directly. If you consider all possible outcomes before acting on something that hasn't happened yet, you may become indecisive and unable to achieve anything. The seventh assertiveness principle is that you need to interact with people, but you don't have to try too hard to please them. Each person is part of society and cannot exist alone. Interactions with others are unavoidable. However, it doesn't mean you need to go out of your way to please everyone. Even if you do so, it is impossible to gain everyone's favor. The eighth assertiveness principle is that you have the right to make illogical decisions. Many people may use logic to manipulate you and prove that your thoughts, actions, or emotions are wrong. In their view, you must follow logic because logical judgments surpass those made by anyone else. However, logical decisions may not always be the solution to your problems. Often, the resolution lies beyond logic. The ninth assertiveness principle is that you have the right to say, "I don't understand." No one can predict everything that will happen around them, and similarly, no one always fully understands another's intentions or needs. So when someone says, "Why don't you understand me?" it is often an attempt to manipulate you into doing things their way. They want you to follow their wishes, but you have the right to reply honestly, "I don't understand." The 10th assertiveness principle is that you have the right to say, I don't care. When others try to manipulate you, they might tell you that everyone is imperfect, has flaws, and it's okay as long as you strive to improve yourself according to their idea of perfection. Then you might find yourself forced to act according to their so-called standard of perfection. To avoid manipulation, you can respond by saying, I don't care, when someone points out your flaws. As you can see, many of these assertiveness principles overlap because they all derive from your primary right to be the ultimate judge of your actions and character. The most common notion of others' manipulation revolves around the same matter, whether or not you are your own ultimate judge. The only difference lies in the form it takes. Alright, that concludes the second topic, the 10 major principles of assertiveness. The principles include asserting your actions, thoughts, and emotions and taking responsibility for their consequences, sticking to your decisions without needing to explain yourself, not feeling guilty for not being able to help others, having the right to change your mind, being okay with making mistakes and taking responsibility for them, having the freedom to say, I don't know, needing to interact with others but not having to seek their approval constantly, having the right to make illogical decisions, being able to say, I don't understand, and having the right to say, I don't care. Alright, now let me introduce the final key point, the 7 techniques for demonstrating assertiveness. Although you understand the importance of being assertive, when faced with challenges, you might still hesitate, thinking, I can't do it, or lose control of your emotions, resorting to yelling and being aggressive. These behaviors are not true assertiveness. Assertiveness is a psychological quality that entails consistently expressing your genuine thoughts, regardless of the situation. To apply assertiveness principles effectively and prevent others from manipulating your behavior, you need to change the behaviors that make you susceptible to manipulation. The author presents 7 techniques for demonstrating assertiveness, empowering you to exercise your rights effectively in interpersonal relationships. The first technique for demonstrating assertiveness is broken record. This method involves calmly and repetitively stating your thoughts, teaching you to persist. With this technique, you don't need to rehearse how to argue with others or control anger. You can handle interactions with people pleasantly and without being hindered by their words. When using this technique, you mustn't be derailed by anything the other person says and courageously repeat your thoughts until they comply with your request. The purpose of learning this technique is to teach you to remain steadfast, so no matter what you say, you benefit from this steadfastness. The second technique for demonstrating assertiveness is the workable compromise. In certain situations, adopting a confrontational attitude is not practical. It's unwise, and even dangerous, to insist on your rights when you can't control the situation. In such cases, you must restrict your behavior and avoid being overly assertive. For example, when facing a group of people trying to rob you in the wilderness, being too assertive is not advisable, as it might lead to physical harm. Throughout the process of employing the language of autonomy, it's reasonable to propose workable compromises as long as you don't compromise your self-esteem. You can negotiate with others until you achieve your material goals, except when the compromise jeopardizes your self-respect. In that case, it's impossible to reach any compromise. The third technique for demonstrating assertiveness is free information. To be assertive and confidently communicate with others in social settings, you must actively listen to the hints they provide about themselves, also known as free information, and show interest in their stories to encourage them to continue talking. This method enables you to identify simple clues people reveal during everyday conversations, indicating their interests and what they value. It makes your conversations with others less awkward and encourages them to talk more freely about themselves. The fourth technique for demonstrating assertiveness is self-disclosure. This technique involves assertively sharing your own thoughts, feelings, and interests to create an atmosphere where the other person can drop their guard and have sincere communication with you. It teaches you to accept and initiate discussions, whether they concern your positive or negative qualities in terms of personality, behavior, lifestyle, etc., thus improving social communication and reducing manipulative behaviors. The fifth technique for demonstrating assertiveness is fogging. This method allows you to accept critical remarks with calmness and acknowledge that what the other person says might have some truth. However, you also retain the right to evaluate your behavior. Mastering this language skill enables you to accept criticism from others without feeling anxious or defensive. It also prevents those who use manipulative criticism from gaining any advantage. The sixth technique for demonstrating assertiveness is negative assertion. As human beings, we all make mistakes. When someone maliciously criticizes and accuses you of your mistakes, you need to assertively respond to your errors. So, how can you handle your mistakes assertively? The simplest way is to neither exaggerate nor downplay your mistakes when discussing them, which is called negative assertion. With this method, you firmly and empathetically agree with the criticisms directed at you. Whether the criticism is well-intentioned or malicious, it teaches you to acknowledge your mistakes and faults without needing to apologize. This allows you to face your flaws in behavior or character without feeling resentful or anxious, while also reducing the critic's anger or hostility. The seventh technique for demonstrating assertiveness is negative inquiry. Negative inquiry involves asking others for more criticism and opinions about you in a non-accusatory manner. If the criticisms are useful, you can use them to your advantage. If the criticisms are manipulative, you can completely dismiss them. Learning this language skill empowers you to seek criticism and opinions from others more comfortably in close relationships and encourages them to express genuine negative emotions, thereby improving communication and interactions. Alright, that concludes today's presentation of the third key point, the 7 techniques for demonstrating assertiveness. I am the broken record method, which means always insisting on your viewpoint. The workable compromise is about reaching a middle ground without compromising your self-esteem. The free information method involves showing interest in others' stories and sharing free information to encourage open communication. The self-disclosure technique is about revealing information about yourself to improve communication with others. Fogging is the technique of accepting criticism calmly while retaining the right to evaluate your behavior. The negative assertion method encourages accepting criticism without feeling defensive and reducing the critic's anger or hostility. The negative inquiry technique involves encouraging others to offer more criticism and opinions without accusation. Alright, we've covered almost everything today. Let's recap the key points we discussed. First, we talked about the importance of being assertive. In everyday life, such as in family, work, and friend relationships, conflicts and anxieties often arise due to others' control and our own vulnerabilities. The only solution to these issues is assertiveness. Next, we discussed the 10 essential principles of assertiveness, which are essentially ideas related to assertiveness. The most crucial principle among them is the right to be the ultimate judge of our own actions. All the assertiveness principles stem from this core principle. Finally, we delved into the 7 techniques for demonstrating assertiveness. To become assertive, it's not enough to understand the assertiveness principles, you must also know how to exercise these rights. Mastering these techniques will enable you to effectively exercise your rights in interpersonal relationships. Alright, that's a summary of today's content. Congratulations on finishing another book. Thank you all for your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like, and share this valuable knowledge with your friends. Let's combine wisdom with practice to achieve our financial goals and create a better future. Thank you, and goodbye.